Begin with chapter number 3 from section B of your political science book of grade 11. And the name of the chapter is Unipolar World or US Unilateralism. In the previous chapter, we came across that immediately after the Second World War, we find that during the Cold War period, that USA and in USSR both are emerging as two power blocks, and they are trying to compete against each other, and they are trying to maintain, whereas we find that USSR is disintegrating and USA is maintaining its power and is remaining in the superior position. Now, what is unilateralism? In simple words, we can say that unilateralism is international relations, means the policy and attempts of a powerful nation to pursue the goal of its foreign policy without caring much of the views and interest of other nations and even international interest. It involves attempts at using one's power position and in such a way as can help it either to secure the involvement or support of other states behind its foreign policy objectives, or to pursue the foreign policy objectives unilaterally. So USA, or you can say US unilateralism in Gulf War in 1991 and Iraq War in 2003. In the first Gulf War that was held in 1991, that is Operation Desert Storm. Okay, the US was successful in securing the support and participation of several other states in this war, which was fought under its leadership for securing the freedom of Kuwait from illegal Iraq aggression and occupation. And in the second Gulf War in 2003, Operation Iraq Freedom, Operation Iraq Freedom from the authoritarian and anti-US regime of Iraq President Saddam Hussein. And the USA was successful in securing the involvement and support of several other states behind its foreign policy objectives. As in this war, the USA was in a position to pursue its policy of dislodging the rule of Saddam Hussein, who was alleged to be pursuing a policy of making nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction. And the policies being pursued by Saddam Hussein were actually deemed to be opposed to US interest and West Asia. There were, however, projects as policies which were dangerous for world policies, democracy, and freedom. After the 9/11 attack, after the 9/11 terror attack in the USA by the Al Qaeda terrorists, US President George W. Bush also decided to launch an invasion against Afghanistan for ending the threat posed by Taliban rulers, also who were given shelter and support to the Al Qaeda terrorist outfit of you can say Osama bin Laden. And this war was described by the USA as a war against terror in Afghanistan. For waging this war, the USA created a coalition and with its NATO alliance, and particularly Britain and France, which joined the US led arm war in Afghanistan. And the US President Bush gave this war the name War Against Terror, an operation and enduring freedom in Afghanistan. In reality, it was a war to ensure the security of the USA against the threat posed posed by the Al Qaeda and other terror groups and organizations. Let's discuss about US led wars, also which are really All several scholars suggest as an example US unilateralism in the environment of unipolar and world politics. So the project suggests in a US unilateralism case study of Operation Desert in 1991 and in Iraq. The project cause of the Persian Gulf War in 1991 was illegal Iraq annexation and of oil-rich Kuwait from 25th August 1990 to 28th February till 1991. On 28 August 1990, Iraq had proclaimed that Kuwait was henceforth an Iraq province. Hence, it was a clear case that Iraq armed aggression and against Kuwait was its subsequent annexation and as an Iraqi terror. It was Iraqi territory. Iraqi territory. It was indeed an illegal action on the part of Iraq. Iraq had violated the sovereignty of Kuwait, and the entire world had criticized and condemned it. It involved Iraqi attempt to make good the heavy losses of it had suffered during this 10 years as a long war with Iran, and it was seen by the USA as an Iraq attempt to dominate the oil-rich Gulf region, which controlled 40% of the world's oil resources, as it was perceived as a major threat to the global interest. As in this region, Iraq occupation of Kuwait had possessed a big, you can say, maniac of the U.S. friend Saudi Arabia. In fact, Iraq occupation of Kuwait was regarded by the USA as a direct challenge to its power, role and position of its important and sensitive region of the world. So during the war, during the Iran-Iraq war in 1980 and 88, we find that the USA had looked away, partly because Iraq remained involved in a war against USA enemy. Okay, so, in order to have a legal foundation of its objective and decimating, or you can say removing Saddam Hussein's regime in Iraq and in ending the annexation of Kuwait, USA was successful in securing several UN Security Council resolutions for putting heavy economic and diplomatic sanctions and pressures on Saddam Hussein and for compelling him to end this aggression and annexation of Kuwait.